I went through so many highs and lows because of this game, I have absolutely no idea where to start. Star Wars Squadrons was added to EA Play on Xbox Gamepass, so I decided I might as well give it a shot. And after beating the story and playing a few online matches, I actually still can't decide if I like this game or not. So let's go through some of the different aspects of the game, find out if it's a good game, and if you should play it or not. When I decided to try this game, it was about 1 AM, so I decided I'd turn off all the lights and turn up the volume. I wanted to give the game every opportunity to impress me with its effects, and honestly, it looks so damn good. The ships, the explosions, the grand scale of the epic space battles, it all looks amazing. The visuals were so close to being perfect. The only issues I had with the visuals were the character models. They aren't that bad, just in comparison to the ships, they just don't seem movie quality. And they aren't the main focus of the gameplay, so I was able to look past them. While they're the weakest part of the game visually, they're still pretty nice when comparing to a lot of other games I've played. I don't have VR, so I wasn't able to test that aspect, but I have seen some reviews of the game in VR and it looks like it's extremely immersive with the same great visuals. While the cutscenes and in-game fights looked exactly how I wanted them to, if the sound effects were off, then it would throw everything off. Luckily, the sounds were also flawless. They sound great, everything was on point, from the sounds of the deflector shields to the lasers or the missiles hitting their targets. The experience of the visuals combined with the sounds really helped the experience be as good as possible. The gameplay itself is a lot more complex than I thought it would be. There is a good variety of ships and you really feel the differences between them. Unfortunately, I was never that comfortable using any of the ships except for the X-Wing and TIE Fighter. All the other ships had characteristics that were either better or worse, but none of them played a way that felt natural. Normally, I can play a game and only use one ship, or one gun, or one character all the way through the story and enjoy the experience, but the game forces you to use specific ships for most of the missions. I felt like I played 75% of the story using ships I didn't enjoy, and it really hampered my ability to enjoy the game. Using the ships and all the features, as well as each ship's dashboard, was difficult to master, and I still don't think I did. However, it is overwhelmingly satisfying to shoot down an enemy ship and fly right through the blast, just like Poe in Force Awakens. I played this on the first gen Xbox One and I had zero issues. Some long load times, but it ran amazingly well. High speed flying, dodging, shooting, aerial maneuvers, they all flowed so well. If the game had any sort of performance issues, it would completely tank the entire experience, so I'm very glad there was absolutely no in-game problems for me. The story itself was honestly pretty forgettable. The first 2 to 3 missions had such a wow factor, and the last couple were fairly satisfying, but the middle was a bit more difficult to play through. Maybe it was the lack of ship options, maybe it was the style of missions, I'm not sure, but I found myself just not caring. You're briefed on each mission, you end up playing through the story, rotating between the rebels and the Empire depending on the mission. At first I really enjoyed the concept, but eventually it started to feel like each mission was specifically designed to teach you the new ship, then the story was almost over. It felt like an 8-hour tutorial to ready you for the online, instead of being a totally separate thing. The story isn't even the first option on the main page, it really makes it feel like it was an afterthought. If the story is an afterthought, then the online is the main course. At least, I thought it would be. Maybe I'm too late to the game, maybe everyone already stopped playing. Maybe there just isn't that much to do in the online either, and honestly, after 3 lopsided dogfight matches, I just didn't care. Essentially, a 5 vs 5 team deathmatch. The games were somehow very fast paced, yet felt really slow. With spawn points where you need to fly a good while to get back in the fight, to 2 people flying in a circle never catching the other person, there could be long periods of time where it was actually fairly boring. I actually wanted to stop playing the online, but I made sure to at least get to level 5 to unlock fleet battles. I wanted to make sure I tried it because it was advertised as the flagship mode for the game, and honestly, it wasn't much better. Essentially, you need to gain more momentum than the other team, and you do it by killing your opponents, which eventually allows the team with the most momentum to be able to attack higher ranking ships. There is 2 levels of high ranking ships after the original Starfighters. The mode started to feel like a 3-step tug of war and kinda just became a grind to get through. I actually preferred the dogfight deathmatch mode, but only when they weren't super lopsided, which was pretty rare. Most games ended with scores around 30 to 8. Being against people who aren't great pilots is super boring as they were constantly flying back from the spawn and never got the chance to re-engage in the fight. While going against above average players meant you were spawning, flying back, getting hit by 3 people at once, dying, and just doing that cycle on repeat. The issue is that with the long spawn flight back and the mandatory cooldown between lives, it meant you could be the only one alive on their team. With 2 people waiting and 2 people slowly flying back, you could be outnumbered 5 to 1 in the actual battle area, while the opponents just wait for your team to slowly come back one at a time with no way to try and even the fight. I am glad that all the unlockables seem to be achieved in the game. Leveling up gives you points for ship modifications, and beating daily challenges gives you an in-game currency for character mods, so I did appreciate that. The replayability of this game is the online. The story just became too boring. Use the ship we tell you, do the objective as fast as possible, move on to the next. Only the intro was really good, and only during the first playthrough. I don't see myself replaying it on any harder difficulty. I just don't see the point. The online could be really good to play a couple matches a day, but it just feels so limited. From modes that aren't really doing much for me, to ships and modifications that I'm never going to use, to a community that feels like it's nowhere near what it probably once was. The first online game I was loaded to took around 4 minutes to find. But honestly, I'm still torn. If you like flying games and Star Wars, this game can be really good. I was legitimately amazed with the visuals and sound effects and the atmosphere the game created when I first turned it on. I haven't been wowed by a game in a long time, but the story just seems like it didn't matter and the online is just way too bare. There was nothing keeping me around. The game originally made me think it was going to be something I recommend to everyone, and it turned into something I'll probably forget in a week. If you decide to play it, treat it like you're going to watch an epic Star Wars movie. Treat it like a movie theater in your home. Dark room, loud speakers, play it for 2.5 hours, the length of a movie, and then stop playing before you start to get bored. Honestly, if I could erase my memory and experience the first impressions I got the second time, I totally would. I would just have to get out before it becomes stale. It's such a shame because this game could have been epic. It runs so smooth, it looks amazing, it sounds fantastic, and yet, somehow, it's slow and boring, and I don't know how they did it. I guess with all the very high highs and the very low lows, this game just averages out to be, well, average. Thanks for watching everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to hit the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I've been thinking about creating a rating system to give a final input on a game. If you would prefer I did or didn't, let me know down in the comments. If I do, I don't think it'll be a number system, I'll probably try and come up with something unique to the channel. Anyways, thanks for watching.